In one.
It feel like Miami.
Miami, 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 Miami.
It feel like Miami.
Welcome to the Heapy Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas. And with me today is only our 2K coach, Franky. What's up, homie?
We're all we got. We're all we need.
Listen, we have enough. Listen, it's the holidays. You know, people are with their family. People have fallen asleep and not answered the group DM. You know, I'm not gonna call out people by name, Christian Hernandez, but you know, people have to enjoy their holiday break. And here at Heapy, we are an ethical company where we allow people to enjoy time with their family. However, Franky and I, you know, we want to give you, the people, the coverage that you deserve. So we are here doing this podcast for you on a wonderful Sunday afternoon. And, you know, by the way, guys, the scheduling for Heapy going forward is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be probably Sunday and Thursday, I think we're going to shoot for until the season starts. And then we're going to kind of get into, like, specific team stuff. And that's going to take us up to training camp. And then at that point, you know, we're going to be on our usual, whatever, there's not a game type schedule going on with our post games and all that good stuff. So, Franky, I really want to start with the news of Wednesday. I know we're a little late, but there was Thanksgiving and then, you know, Black Friday. God, I hope nobody shopped on Black Friday. God, you guys, please be safe. There was some news that some people in the league were calling the Heat's finals run a fluke. Now, that bothered me for a couple reasons. Now, the first reason why it bothered me was because it's some anonymous team executive saying this, and it's probably Danny Ainge, texting some reporter, right? Because he's mad that he had to watch, Bam Adebayo kick his ass, and then the Heat play the Lakers in the finals. Like or like some Phoenix executive, some salty ass loser executive, horse in Milwaukee, like texted this to somebody, right? Which I'm just like, why would you even need to say that? And like, you could say all you want about the idea of no fans in the arena, right? You could say all the things about the bubble was weird and everything. Franky, I think let's not even entertain some of that other stupid shit, but just from an X's and O's standpoint, Miami totally kicked Milwaukee's ass. They had a game plan. It worked. I mean, you don't even have to be like a super X's and O's basketball guy to see the fucking plan against the Bucks and how well it worked out. I mean, it was pretty simplified. And against the Celtics, too. I mean, the way that they handle Kemba Walker in pick and roll and all that stuff, like, I think from an X's and O's standpoint, I don't really think it could be debated.
It's hilarious to hear that, especially because on a neutral court, you would feel like there's no home court advantage, no other factors, and it's just talent, mano a mano. And Miami completely outplayed the Bucks. They went up 3-0 on them. They completely outplayed Boston. Besides like a blowout loss that Miami took out their starters in the fourth quarter. So yeah, Miami completely outplayed them, completely outcoached both those teams. I feel like the finals left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But that you can chalk that up to injuries. They lost two of their three best players in the first game, and were without Goran for the majority of the series, and healthy Goran the whole series.
And Franky, like, the Heat took off 2 games off the Lakers. That's more than any other team did.
Yeah,
without their players.
Exactly. It was literally Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler was there's a legitimate argument that can be made before the finals that Jimmy Butler was like their third best player.
Yeah. Like, other than that Milwaukee series, really in the Boston series, he was, I don't want to say a no-show because he had that big game 1, but, after that, I mean, I think in the Boston series, he was clearly their third most impactful player, and I think the numbers on and off bear that out. I think Bam and Goran, Bam was just a problem for Boston.
Bam was the best player in that series.
And, like, if you look, Franky, I mean, and it's the stuff about Boston that we've been talking about for a long time. Kind of, they're weak on the back line. They're a little small. Their centers can't really keep up. And when a team has a big that can really punish them, especially with Bam on the roll and Goran as a great pick and roll player going north-south, I mean, that became a problem. I mean, they have a lot of really good wing defenders, and clearly that bothered Jimmy Butler, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. They have those guys in the wings, but going north-south, I mean, Goran and even Jimmy, to a lot of times, I mean, they were just picking on Kemba Walker. They were going to Bam on the roll, and then Bam, when it came time to it, took Tice completely out of the game, kind of flipped that over its head in Game 6, and you go to the Milwaukee series, the plan was kind of similar to what Toronto did the year before. You build the wall on Giannis. You really force guys like Brook Lopez to beat you. And, they're sending guys flying. And Jay Crowder, honestly played out of his mind. And that could be the only thing that if you want to say something was fluky. But, I mean, Jay Crowder didn't shoot well the rest of the playoffs. He shot like 33% against Indiana. Against Boston, it was really bad. And against the Lakers, it really wasn't there. So he had a couple, 4 good shooting days against the Bucks, which obviously, you need everything to kind of click for you to beat a team that good. But I mean, it's not like the Heat eked by Milwaukee in a 7-game series, one of which, Toronto last year won in 6 games, but that Game 3 overtime, remember that was a double overtime game that could have really gone against the Raptors that series. So it's not like Miami eked by in a 6 or 7. No, this is a fucking 5-game series beatdown.
It was a gentleman's sweep. They gave them Game 4. And that was with Chris Middleton going to Kobe. That's what it took. But they were up 3-0 in that series. They, like you said, they took the game plan was to take Giannis outside of the paint, force him out, put a lot of hands. Every time he went to he had to take a more than one dribble. He had 2-3 hands reaching, poking at the ball. So he'd have to pick it up, and he would be 18 feet away from the basket with nothing to do, kick it back out. And against Boston, they used the zone to pack it in tight. Kemba was, and then they locked in on Kemba, so Kemba couldn't get his driving lanes that easily. Smart had one outlier shooting game where he went 8 for 12, and the rest of the series he was awful. Jaylen Brown did great. But when Jaylen Brown is doing good, he's not going to beat you. You're not going to win a lot of games if Jaylen Brown is your best player. Yeah, you live with that. They kept Jaylen Brown was the last option to swing around in the corner, weak side corner. He hits the 3. That's fine. You live with that. But these scouts that were saying Tyson Bam were going to be a wash. That Miami's was too small, Miami was too this, Miami was too that, Miami's too young, too inexperienced. You had plenty of guys that made impact plays all season long. These were it is time to prove in the playoffs a different atmosphere. Even in a bubble, it was a higher intensity level. And Hero, and you saw that in Duncan, because you could easily make the case Duncan had an outlier postseason, and Jay made up for it somewhat, because Duncan was shooting Duncan shot 38% when it all came down to it, but
off night for him.
That's off for Duncan. Duncan's a 45% 3-point shooter,
and that's by design too. Teams really keyed in on Duncan, so I don't want to take away from what other teams are doing. I thought the way that they defended Duncan was really good and really smart, and I think that he was a priority for other defenses, and I think that that's natural. And I think the fact that he was able to produce at a high level despite defenses, really, I mean, I think when teams are looking at Butler and stuff like that, the common stuff is you go under the pick, let him shoot, all that stuff, but with Duncan, I really thought that they were putting a lot of their best defenders, a lot of their game plans revolved around how they were going to defend the handoff action with Duncan and Bam. And I thought every defensive decision started with that and then worked down. And then, at the end of the game, Jimmy can kind of force mismatches, force some switches like he did against the Bucks and the Celtics and all that stuff. But I don't really see, and I hate that we're entertaining this, Frankie, because I mean, I don't understand, why we have to do this. I mean, a team made the finals. They beat a lot of good teams quite convincingly, and I don't think that they got any outlier performances from their guys, right? If anything, I think guys underperformed a little bit at times, other than that one Tyler monster game. I mean, I think he scored in double figures every single playoff game, but I mean, I think that was a natural progression up until that point, and I think you can argue that maybe a young player would be a little frazzled by a road game, and that's fair. You're right, but I mean, why are we not saying that about the Lakers, right? When has Anthony Davis ever played in the finals or in a, when has Anthony Davis ever played in a big NBA game, right? Got his ass kicked by the Warriors in the second round. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure, like, why are we doing that to them and not to AD, right? And I think, I don't know, Tyler's not the guy who's scared. I mean, Tyler was their best fourth quarter scorer in the season by percentage, right? That's not a guy that was going to get scared. And Duncan too. It's like, I don't know. I think it's a little ridiculous. I think if you want to say the Heat were a little young and they got fortunate that they didn't have to play a road game because they were a really bad road team, I would say, you're absolutely right. That is a completely fair assessment. And I think that obviously if they had to play road games, it would have been different. Maybe it would have been a 6 or 7 game series against the Bucks, right? Maybe it would have been really, really close. But I don't think that you can say that the Heat did not earn their win against the Bucks or the Celtics, right? And against the Lakers, if their two of their 3 best players don't get hurt, I don't know the conversation we're having. Because even without them, they took him to a game 6 and Jimmy was done. He had nothing left, nothing in his legs. Rondo was going by him. Rondo was blowing by him.
Yeah, so it's just any like resistance at all. Well, my thing is, I think it all comes down to one of Twitter's biggest problems and society in general's biggest problems. We can't admit when we're wrong. It's okay if you were wrong about the Heat and you thought they were going to be a first or second round out. It's okay. It's okay if you were wrong, but you were wrong. They were better than you thought they were. They were better than I thought they were. Than a lot of us Heat fans thought they were. We thought, best case scenario, we upset the Bucks. I don't think a lot of us like pictured how good they would be, how out of this world Goran would play, or Bam. We hoped. We said it before the Celtics series. In order for them to beat the Celtics, this has to be a Bam series. And what was it? It was a Bam series. It was a natural progression of a future of an all-star turning into a max player, a franchise max player turning into a superstar.
I don't know. It was just so annoying. And I was tweeting out of the Heat Beat account, like tweeting all the block on Tatum, the Butler picture where he's keeled over the scores, the sideline little table, whatever. Like, all those moments in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler, scoring over Giannis, yelling, "He can't guard me." You know what I mean? Like that shit's not a fluke. You know what I mean? That's stuff. And like, I don't know. It's so fucking lame. Like, it'd be like Heat fans like trying to take away from the Lakers title. Trying to make excuses, like, I mean, it's just bullshit. I mean, like, those are the circumstances of the league, and everybody said, there are no asterisks. Every player said this was fucking hard, right? And the Heat have, by design, right? Heat culture, really tough-minded individuals, and I think that even Heat players in the bubble really had their mental health affected, and I think you can't really control that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, everybody was playing with that deck. Everybody played with the same hand.
Exactly. Everybody was dealing with the same exact thing. All the playoffs teams.
You're gonna fucking invalidate shit.
Yeah,
you're gonna call it a fluke.
You couldn't handle it, and we could. So it's our problem. We're a fluke. Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Jimmy Butler's about how can anybody watch what Butler did? Outplayed LeBron in 2 finals games at the height of the sport. Everything on the line, legacy on the line. The most important games he's ever played in his life. Given all of Jimmy Butler's personal history and his athletic story, how the fuck can you look at that and say, you know what? I want to invalidate that. That was a fluke. That's all lucky. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, just
piss me off.
Give people credit. They fucking outplayed everybody's expectations, and it wasn't like Jimmy Butler was hitting fucking off the dribble threes and caught fire for 3 series. It wasn't anything like that. It was Goran stepping his game up, but Goran is capable of doing that. Bam was capable. That's why you save
Goran in the regular season, Franky. Yeah, that's why you save him. That's why you save those legs.
Yes, exactly. And it's like you said, teams started keying in on Duncan, and Spo had plenty of film on that. What to do. And his counter was when Nunn wasn't stepping up. To be fair to Nunn, he had COVID. We don't know how much that affected him. But when Nunn wasn't able to play up to his level prior, they switched Goran in, and Goran was able to be that release wall, have less defenders focusing on him. It was like he was playing as a 6-man off the bench without having to worry about the other team's best defenders guarding him. So he's playing against their third best perimeter defender at times, and he's just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna hit this floater, I'm gonna hit this jump shot, I'm gonna attack the lanes, get to all my spots, and free up everybody else, and everybody was able to eat like that.
Something Miami really unlocked that they did not go to as much in the regular season, and I'm kind of curious if they were just saving that stuff. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. I don't know why they would save it, but kind of having Gore on screen for Jimmy late, and then Jimmy kind of picking on matchups, right? And I thought that was a fulcrum of their offense. You know, you saw in the Bucs series late in games, Jimmy is like, where is George Hill? I want George Hill, right? So George Hill's man come up screen for Jimmy, usually Goran, and then Jimmy goes to work on a guy who's not as strong as him. And then in the Celtics series, it's like, where is Kemba Walker, right? Goran, oh, you're on Goran. Goran, come screen for me, and I'm going to go to work on this smaller guy. And I think that, you know, I think Jimmy's biggest strength in the regular season, not just his playmaking, but his free throw rate, the ability that he was able to get to the line at just an astronomical rate. I believe his free throw rate was like third after Harden and AD or something like that. It was something ridiculous. He was in like the top 3 in free throw rate. It was insane. And, you know, for a guy like that to really, you know, put his head down, go to the basket, exploit those mismatches. You know, Miami runs a lot of off-ball screens, which is really helpful when you have a guy who's so willing to pick on smaller players, right? So you have all these Tyler screening and Duncan screening off ball, and then all of a sudden you get these mismatches, and then, you know, all of a sudden you have a really small guy, Jimmy Butler, and he's going to work. And Bam too, by the way. I mean, Bam's really, you know, we've kind of gone on Bam. We've seen him attack smaller guys, and it looks good. We want him to do it more. No reason why, you know, they can't force switches that way too. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because, I mean, a lot of this is repeating what we said during the finals run. It's just, you know, again, the damn day before Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Come on. Be happy, folks.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, and like we were saying, it wasn't like any of them went off. I'm looking here at the playoff per game stats. Jimmy averaged 22, 6, and 6. That's good for Jimmy, but that's not anywhere fluky. Bam went 18, 10, and 4.5. Really good numbers. Nothing fluky about this shit. As you go Goran 19, Tyler 16. J12. J12 is probably the outlier there.
I think Tyler 16 is a little high. I think that's kind of the point production that you could look at and use like that's, you know, Miami found something there that they did not, you know, they did not really have a fourth scorer, right? They had those 3 guys, Jimmy, Gore, and Bam, that they could really rely on. And then that fourth guy was kind of score by committee. Some days it was Duncan. But I mean, I think Tyler really, especially his creation off the pick and roll, you know, I think that they found a genuinely reliable like third creator in pick and roll in certain kinds of sets, you know, when Jimmy, him, and Gordon would play together. And I think in that Lakers series, you really missed Goran because you could see that Tyler wasn't really ready to be that initial or second kind of creator in an offense. You know, it was really tough for him. I mean, he struggled with the drop coverage, surprisingly. I mean, really, really struggled with that drop coverage. But you know, that's the kind of stuff that you hope he improves on, kind of going forward. I want to change gears a little bit. What were you gonna say, Frankie? Close us out.
I was gonna say, yeah, but we also saw that at the beginning of the bubble, how Tyler's game kind of evolved from where it ended. I mean, Tyler. To be fair to Tyler did also end the normal season pre-COVID with ankle injury, I think it was, and he had missed a while, so we hadn't seen Tyler for a little bit.
He didn't even play in the rookie game, right? He didn't participate in All-Star Weekend.
He was like in and out for like 3 weeks. So he got to heal completely, come back, and that bubble kind of where you can talk a little bit of fluky, the space between March and when the bubble started, it kind of gave a lot of the rookies like their second wind, and pretty much an off season where all they could do was work and improve. But you know what was great about that? Everybody had that time off. Everybody had the chance to improve. So you can't even call that a fluke.
Let's not pretend that these guys, you know, had access. You know, remember for a long time, especially in Miami, I mean, these guys did not have access to a gym until maybe a month and a half before the season started, right? Like, and people need to understand that don't live here. You know, most of these guys live in a condo downtown near the arena, right? They're not living in houses, right? Like, you know, only, you know, Dwayne and LeBron lived in Coconut Grove, right? But like most of these dudes, they're living at the Marquise. They're living downtown. They're living in those high rises.
Do you remember that story where Jimmy had to buy his teammates basketball hoops?
Yeah,
because none of them.
I don't even know where the fuck they would put them. Like people need to understand the layout of the city. It's like you have the suburbs. Like I live in West Kendall, right? Like I'm about 35-40 minutes from downtown, from the arena, right? Like this is where houses are. But like you're not getting a fucking house near the arena. Where's the closest place that has houses near the arena? Is it the Grove?
It might be.
I mean, like that's still like 25-30 minutes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the traffic to get in there is awful. So I think people don't understand that. Like, it's not like these guys were fucking waking up every day and working. I'll never forget. I was listening to a podcast that Zach Lowe did. He had Megan Rapinoe, U.S. Women's National Team soccer star, and Sue Bird, obviously one of the greatest WNBA players of all time. And they're a couple, and they live together. And they were talking about like the struggle of kind of working out. And I believe that they live in a condo in Seattle. They're both in Seattle, and they were talking about the struggles of that and how difficult it was to find time to work out, how to work out. And Sue played basketball and Megan plays soccer, and JJ Redick talked a little bit about this too. I mean, how you have really had to finesse, finding a gym and finding somebody to work out, but you never know about the COVID, and not that like these guys were like fucking surgeons, right? Not trying not to get COVID. I'm sure that everybody had their social life, but I mean, it wasn't that easy that it was like, gym all day, gym all night. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to understand that.
Yeah.
Also consider where we live.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Like, if you're from Miami, you understand. Not all of these guys live on Star Island. A lot of these guys haven't made it. A lot of these guys aren't locked into spending the rest of their careers in Miami, or a big portion of it.
How many Heat players have lived on Star Island? Is it just Shaq?
Probably just Shaq. And
I think it might just be Shaq.
And it might have been Shaq. Wasn't Shaq like getting Pat Riley's old house or something like that?
Well, I know that Shaq had to have. So we did. I work for an engineering company, and we did the surveying of his house, I believe. And I think that I was told that they had to make custom doors and shit, or like custom like walkways, because he's a big dude. Yeah, like these dudes. I gotta be honest with you. When was the last Heat player that lived on South Beach? I don't know. They mostly live downtown Brickell and the Grove.
Yeah,
Grove is nice, man.
That's what makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I wouldn't want to live on the beach. Let me tell you something. I'm a hurricane panicker, and I'm looking to buy a place, and I was looking at kind of everywhere. Look at my options. I was like, what would a small condo in the beach cost? And I was like, oh, that's expensive, but it's the beach. It's nice. And hurricanes. I don't want to. Who knows when this is gone? Take one bad storm and it's all gone.
All that flooding and stuff, you can't get out of there when it starts raining a little bit.
Listen, there were people. LeBron was here for 4 years. Chris Bosh too. They don't know what the fuck a hurricane is like. they don't know. Dwayne does. Dwayne came in 2003, got Katrina, got Wilma. We got bopped that season. We've been pretty lucky ever since. Knock on wood.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So kind of changing gears a little bit. We have a couple things we want to laugh at. Hassan Whiteside, from max player to, what did he get, the minimum?
Yep.
Close to it. You know what I mean? Like that, what a fault. Like, so I'm in some NBA group chats, and I think it's funny kind of the reaction that like legitimately smart basketball people have to Hassan, right? Like legitimately smart basketball opinions that you would respect are just like, get that guy away from me. I don't want to be here near him. I don't want anything to do with him. Get this guy away from me. And like, I'm a Heat fan, right? Like we've lived the Hassan Whiteside experience, the good and the bad, right? We had the whole generational big, his rise to stardom, the max contract, triple double with blocks, that game in Chicago. Whew, that feels like forever ago, Franky.
You're trying to get his 2K rating up.
Oh my God, right? So like we've had the good, and then we've had the pouty, the bad, the tackling Alex Len. All-time Hassan moment.
I was at that game. I called it.
That's true. He fucking put his head down and fucking tackled. And that was at the time that the Dolphins didn't have linebackers. It was kind of funny. It's like
it was such a terrible tackle too. If you rewatch that
Carlos
video,
Dansby on the Dolphins at the time. That's a name. It was funny. All right, we've had the Hassan not setting screens, Dwayne fucking screaming at him on the bench, all the Hassan experience, right? And I think that at the end of the day, I think it's a little I think it's funny, right? Like, I'm always down to make fun of Hassan, ready or not. Shout out to Chef Chili. Is that real? Is ready or not real, or is that just a creation?
It's real.
See,
That's what he snapped.
The fucked up thing about that is I don't know what's real and what's Twitter fucking with him.
You know what
Right?
else is also real? The snap of him running around the locker room.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite. If
I
you
think it was
haven't
Josh
looked that up,
recording him. Oh God, it's so good.
great,
But
just tremendous.
He started at the bottom, got paid like a max player, and he was straight rich for a little bit, and now straight broke.
He's still a millionaire, but back full circle, back at Sacramento. I don't really see the fit there with him, but whatever. I don't think he's a bad player. I mean, he's, I think the numbers, either bear even or slightly positive when he's on the floor for teams. So, I mean, he's not a bad player. I just think he has limited upside. He has good hands. I think he's a good big for LeBron. Like, I've always said this, Frankie, like, I think Tyler Johnson and Hassan Whiteside are two perfect LeBron players. Tyler Johnson's great off the ball, amazing hands, very good spot-up shooter, athletic, runs the floor, defends. What more do you want as a LeBron James guard?
Yeah, I think said the same thing with Tyler. Hassan,
like, he's not the pick-and-roll creator that Caruso is, but it's not like Caruso's fucking lighting it up as a pick-and-roll player, right? I think Caruso has a lot more ball-handling chops than Tyler, but, like,
Tyler's a much better shooter.
Tyler's a much better shooter, right? And I think that, in nut cutting time, LeBron's going to have the ball anyway. And I think if Tyler's in your closing lineup with that guy, Tyler, when Tyler just has to focus on kind of fighting over screens, defending and shooting and running the floor and being athletic, I think that's what you want. Isn't that what LeBron wants?
Yeah, exactly. The thing with Hassan is the low effort stuff, the block chasing, the lack of effort on the screens, all the easy stuff that you can do that he should be able to do would drive LeBron absolutely fucking nuts.
It would, but that guy has, I think his best skill are his hands. That dude has great fucking hands. He can catch balls really, really well. I mean, I think sometimes Goran really struggled to get him like on those short bounce passes. That was tough for him, and I think his size and he's just like a little clumsy. But I think a guy like LeBron, who's a much better passer, who can really give it to him where he needs, and he's not fumbling passes or whatever. I don't know. I kind of always wanted to see how that would look like, but I thought it funny, Heat fans taking a victory lap on poor Hassan as he signs for the fucking minimum in Sacramento, the fucking a-hole of the NBA. Like, nobody wants to be there. It's fucking Albatross.
I tweeted, hopefully he does the exact opposite of what Dwayne did to Jimmy in Chicago, and he tries to backtalk Heat culture to De'Aaron Fox, but Fox is like, "What? That's exactly what I want."
I can't wait. He just signed that max extension. I don't know how that's gonna happen, but
hey, when him and Bam are free agents, they're best buddies.
Come home. It was funny. Did you see the fight last night with Nate Robinson?
I saw it on Twitter when it came back up. Oh my God.
Okay. So let me paint the picture for the audience that doesn't know. Because I didn't even know this was happening until kind of I saw something was trending. So Nate Robinson's apparently a boxer now. I did not know this. I learned of this yesterday. Nate Robinson was in that Mike Tyson fight card. What was that for charity, Frankie? I don't even know what. I don't know why Mike Tyson's fighting again.
I wasn't sure either. I just saw it was Roy Jones and Mike Tyson and Jake Paul and Nate Robinson were like the undercard.
So Jake Paul, for those of you who don't know, is a white boy YouTuber. He's he has fame for getting arrested during the protests in during the summer for the Black Lives Matter protests because he went to go film looting, and he got arrested for that. I thought that was kind of funny how Jake Paul perpetually inserting himself. Also went to a Japanese suicide forest and filmed that because he's an asshole, right? So that there'd be all sorts of culturally insensitive things in Japan. He's like the problematic white boy YouTuber, right? And apparently he boxes. I did not know this. I did not know that Jake Paul was a boxer.
And he's like legitimate semi-pro guy. Like
I'm not giving him an ounce of credit. I hate that guy.
I
But
don't want to give him credit either, but
he
people
beat
that I
the
follow,
shit out of Nate Robinson in that fucking undercard, and Nate got knocked out, and
Oh my
Bradley
God.
Beal, and CJ McCollum, and Solomon Hill, and fucking Evan Turner, and everybody's like making fun of the guy. Steph Curry eviscerated him. I'm like, come on, man.
oh man, it was so funny to see because it's like a guy stepping completely out of his element, trying something new, and he was confident. He thought he had.
Don't give him
he had
credit.
him.
He doesn't deserve shit.
No, I'm trying to be a Yisha Curry here. And
Hold on, wait. So Steph goes. Steph like tweets like before the fight. Let's go, Nate Robinson. Hold it down. And then Nate goes, I'm gonna shock the world. And then Steph waited for after the fight to go, I see no lies.
I didn't know that was after the fight. That's even.
That was
funnier.
after the fight.
That's fucking.
I'm like, come on,
hilarious.
Steph.
Damn.
Bradley Beal tweeting out pictures of him like kind of knocked on the floor, like, you know, making fun of Nate.
Oh my god.
I was looking at Dame's Twitter account because Dame's really funny. Dame and CJ always love to fuck with people. So Dame didn't tweet anything last night. I saw somebody tweet to Bomani. It's like, you know, Nate's gonna have to learn to cut his own hair. Could you imagine going to the fucking barber after that?
That's fucking hilarious. Yeah,
Honestly, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm sure that Nate can still kick a lot of people's ass, but I don't know, man. That's embarrassing. You lost to him, the YouTuber. You lost to a YouTuber.
I saw somebody say that Nate Robinson losing to Jake Paul just feels racist.
Yeah, it does. What isn't racist but feels racist? Like those posts. I think Adam Smoot tweeted that. Bro, that shit was funny. Like, I don't know. I didn't know it was happening, and I kind of looked at Twitter and I was like, oh, these jokes. I'm here. Listen, I love a good event that produces jokes. That's what Twitter was made for.
Exactly. Twitter is for live tweeting things. That's exactly what it's for. That's why it's so good during the season. Any award show, anytime something happens.
Any cultural event.
Yeah. And
debates. They're fun for debates.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much of chaos and shit hole Twitter can be, it's a lot of the funniest fucking things you'll ever see.
It's great. And by the way, if you're not following us on Twitter, which is why you're not yet, you can follow us at MIA We live tweet games. We tweet you information, numbers, stats, jokes, memes, bring you closer to the Heat community. Follow us there. You can follow me at GNavas103. Frankie, where can people follow you?
Franky G _ on Twitter.
Get us involved on Twitter, guys. If you're not following us on Twitter, we're really active on there. We have a lot of fun. Get in with our community over there. Follow the account. We'll give you a follow back. Let us know that you mentioned it on the podcast. Also, get in our Discord. That's a lot of fun. And I think what we really want to do for next season is we really want to get listener questions for guests, right? So we're working on a special guest for next week. And if we get him, we're going to ask our Discord for questions, right? He's a big get for us. We're really excited. Hopefully he can do it on Thursday. So join our Discord server so you can kind of get in on that conversation. There's a community there that's talking every day. It's a pretty active community. We have several hundred members in the Discord. It's active. It's fun. We have all sorts of different channels to talk off-season trades, game, X's and O's, share memes, talk about other off-topic things with our Heat fans. So that Discord link will be in the description of the YouTube video or the podcast if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or wherever you listen to your pods. So check that out. Get involved with us there. Kind of one of the last things I wanted to get to, Frankie, was some of the interesting numbers that came out of Bam's extension. And I saw, we retweeted this from the Heatbeat account, Albert Namad, who's been on the show a couple times with us last week. Bam's extension kind of works out for Miami in a way that we were talking with Albert last week about kind of the incentives and how that's going to affect their cap. So for those of you who don't know, when you sign a particularly a max contract, that's going to come with incentives, right? So if you make an all NBA team, your percent, so a max contract, I think at the highest, it's like 30% of the cap or whatever, right? So let's say the minimum's at 28% of the cap, right? So if you make an all NBA team, you're eligible for up to 29% of the cap. And if you win MVP, then you're eligible for 30% of the cap, right? So like the contract can vary between several tens of millions of dollars depending on how good you are and what milestones you reach. every contract has those. Rookie contracts have those for rookie teams and all that stuff, right? So we weren't sure what Bam's kind of qualifications were going to be because those numbers are really important looking for 2021, right? So, Bam was practically an all-NBA third-team player this year. I mean, barely missed it. I think he should be a lock next year, I would hope. I mean, if he keeps taking the gradual improvements, you kind of hope he beats out Rudy Gobert. I mean, who knows where Rudy's going to be next year and all that stuff, right? So, and the Heat are going to be a good team with a lot of eyes watching them. So, that genuinely affects voters. So, kind of the information that from because Bam signed the contract over the weekend, Bam's going to start at 25% of the 2021-2022 cap, and that's per John Hollinger. If he wins Defensive Player of the Year, it's going to be 27.5. And if he wins All-NBA First Team, it'll be 28.5, and MVP 30%. So he doesn't have language in his contract for second team or third team All-NBA. So let's be clear about that. And that's kind of where this conversation has to start because, as good as Bam is, those are pretty, that's a pretty big leap, capital L, to make next year. Jason Tatum didn't even do those things. You know what I mean? And that's, that's kind of the leap, the superstar leap that you hope. And, it's probably unlikely that Bam breaches those milestones next year. I mean, to win MVP, obviously, if he wins MVP, who needs Giannis, right? You have the fucking MVP on your team. But I mean, to get NBA all first team, that's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of bigs, AD, Jokic, Gobert, Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, and with whoever else is going to be great next year. And then for defensive player, I think defensive player of the year is probably is most likely. Giannis, AD, Gobert, right? LeBron's going to be in that mix, OG Anunoby, right? There's a lot of guys that, he's going to compete with. What? I was just naming dudes.
You snuck it in OG.
I was just naming dudes. I don't know what you're talking about.
I love OG.
I was just naming dudes.
Deep boys. This is the
Jimmy's gonna be in the conversation too. Let's listen. Jimmy's gonna be right there. So he's not gonna. It's unlikely that he'll get kind of the high end of his max number. It's gonna give Miami a little more wiggle room in the 2021 offseason. So sorry we ever doubted you, Andy and Pat. And he doesn't have an opt out. He doesn't have an opt out.
I think that shows like exactly what Bam thinks of the organization, how they've treated him, and what he thinks of the future. Just having that faith to not ask for a player option, and
that's
to let
crazy.
them, and he let them play with his numbers like that. Like that is extremely team friendly for a max player. You could see it in De'Aaron Fox and all these other guys who just got their rookie maxes. A lot of their contract language specifically pointed out, their marks for making second team, third team, all those stuff that Bam is a lot more likely to. For him to, agree to this, and it shows that he's team first and he's trying to help the team. Be flexible for future guys, and he's going to be frontline recruiting the next star Miami gets.
So and we talked about this a little bit last show on the show before that. I mean, the team was going to always offer the extension because that's the right thing to do. And, we've talked. The organization has had its, falling out with its star players and its most important players, from Shaq to Mourning to Dwayne to LeBron to Bosh, right? And I don't think the franchise wants to make that mistake again. And I think that, we can talk a lot about the 2021 plan and the max stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, they propagate the idea of this is a family, and they put their money where their mouth is. And they did this for Bam, and Bam repaid them by making this very, very team friendly to them. And I think that, your relationship, I think we've learned in this league, and everything can change, right? So something can change from now to next year. In this league, nothing is static, but your front office, coaching staff relationship with your superstar is the most important thing, because James Harden did not start asking out of Houston until Daryl Morey was not there. You know what I mean? And Daryl and James had a really solid relationship, right? And I think you got to look at Kobe and Mitch Kupchak and the buses, right? And Dwayne and Riley. I mean, that falling out was nasty, right? And that could have been avoided. And I think, and as much as there's love there was also stubbornness. And I don't think the organization is going to make that mistake again. And I think Bam repaid them. I mean, the not having an option is fucking insane. I mean, absolutely fucking insane. Particularly because, I mean, you're going to be eligible for more money. So you can opt out and then get more money. You're not locked into that 5th year at whatever number that is. And considering how young he is, he's gonna be eligible. I mean, if he keeps on this trajectory, maybe more money, Supermax or whatever, right? Like, he's gonna be in that conversation. I mean, if we're having the fucking Rudy Gobert Supermax conversation, you bet your ass we're gonna have it for Bam, right? So it's good that he played ball with the franchise. Even I'll be honest with you, I was surprised when he signed it, considering the ramifications for their cap. But this gives them a little more playing room, and I don't doubt that they're going to be able to fit a max. Now I haven't read seen too much theorizing it, but I mean this is obviously very favorable for the franchise, and love to see it.
I mean, I get that we were all surprised by it. I was surprised too, but this team just made it to the fucking finals. A lot of these fucking people complaining and being afraid of where this team is going to be about Giannis and this guy and that guy. Listen, that's great. I get it. I'd rather win the finals than just be in the finals. We don't put up those banners, Eastern Conference Championships. We don't celebrate those.
Let's go.
Fucking. But let me tell you something. Bam Adebayo led his team to the finals. Giannis has not done that. Harden has not done that. All these Bradley Beal hasn't made the playoffs by himself. All right, let's talk about Bam Adebayo, how he's the fucking franchise player. He's the young budding superstar that he is. This was his first year as a starter, and he took his team to the finals. Get a fucking grip, people.
Get a grip. And I think that and I think this is a bit of a tired argument, but we as NBA consumers and as content creators and fans, right? Like, we are so obsessed with what's next. And I think part of that, I mean, I think sometimes people in the media kind of talk down to that, but which I think is a little wrong too, because I think that's exciting and that's good for the league. But I think that where it becomes bad when it's too much, that, your max player, your best young player signs the richest deal in your franchise's history, who deserves it, because nobody's out here saying that he doesn't deserve it, right? Like, it's not like the Hassan deal that you had to, you really had to have your pill with some juice because you couldn't swallow it, right? Like, it was a contract that is earned, that your young superstar earned. And we're talking about, and the first thing that came to our mind is not the human story of Bam, where he came from that trailer, kind of signing that money. And listen, we're guilty of it too. It's, well, how does this affect their ability to sign Giannis, right? And look, NBA consumerism's about that, and I think that it's been good for the league and fruitful in a lot of ways. But I think this is where it gets to be too much. You know what I mean? Where we're all of a sudden not happy because next offseason is blown up, right? When your team just made the finals, as you said. Your superstar is locked up. Your other superstar in Jimmy Butler's locked up. And Jimmy Butler's a fucking top 12 player. Get the fuck out of here. I haven't seen Paul George do what Jimmy Butler just did. I've seen all those other names that Frankie just named. They haven't done that. Has Westbrook led anybody to do anything, Frankie?
I don't think he's led them out of the first round.
No, I don't know. I mean, AD had to join LeBron to do something meaningful. You know what I mean? Like, Kyrie too. I mean, Kyrie was flaming out in the second round with a good Boston team, right? So, they have these two guys that are fucking good, right? With some young players like Tyler Hero, which sky's the limit, and Duncan Robinson, who's arguably maybe next year he'll be the second best shooter in the league, debatably. Behind Steph Curry. Now that Klay Thompson's fortunately not going to play. So, we have to really tone that back, I think, as fans and as content creators, because I think it's fun, right? But it's also unfair to the guys who are on your team who have contributed, who have created legitimate moments. Like, I had a disconnect with that team last year for a long time. Not pre-bubble, but like pre-bubble stuff. You know what I mean? It was really hard. I love Butler. I love Bam and Goran, but it was tough. It was tough. It was a lot of new faces that I didn't know. A lot of guys that I really had to get behind. I did not believe in them. I thought their defense was bad. And we've had these conversations on the pods over and over again. But it's really cool when a sports team really like it can really capture you, and there wasn't even a singular moment. It just kind of happened progressively that I just fell in love with that group, and it wasn't even during the finals or anything. It was just kind of in the bubble. It just, I don't know, something felt different about the group, and it's incredibly likable. They really shortened the rotation. I love the guys on the team. They play really wonderful basketball. There's all sorts of movement on offense, all these back screens, all these fun sets. Their pistol action's so great and creative. The way that they run their inverted horns, which is my favorite set from the Big 3 days. The way that they run their handoffs. It's poetry in motion. There's all sorts of movement. And Miami really leveraged not having they have a couple of really good shooters and a lot of not good shooters. And they were really able to leverage that balance perfectly into playing this beautiful basketball, which is credit to Eric Spoelstra, who is just the best coach of the league. And like, this team's awesome, and we should appreciate them. And we'd probably be thankful for that, people.
Absolutely, man. It was. I felt like the last couple of years with the after the post Big Three really just made us like appreciate what we had in the Big Three, and you had the LeBron leaving, you had the Bosch blood clots, Wade's leaving, and then you had this team like locking into guys like Dion and Hassan, and guys that their effort wasn't consistent. Their effort was optional to them, and that just wasn't Heat basketball for all of us. Like, that's just not what we've grown accustomed to. Like, we know championship basketball is great, playoff basketball is great, but we know effort and hard work and teamwork. That's what we've grown accustomed to. And this year, this team, especially in the beginning of the season and then entering the bubble, they really had a lot of moments where they just gelled together, playing hard, busting their asses, diving loose balls from Jimmy to the 12th man, whoever it was. That's what it was fun about it, that they just busted their ass. They worked hard. Jimmy might have a game where he's got 12 points, but he's also got like 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. That just, it felt so much like the embodiment of Heat culture this year. How much fun it was just seeing all these young guys, Bam, Tyler, Duncan, all have these fucking big time moments and big time games. I felt like the Bam block in game 1 against Boston was just like the moment we all felt like, holy shit, they could make it to the finals.
It had settled. I mean, we had done these live, but I think when they went up 3-0 against the Bucks, that's when we started looking at potential finals matchups here on the pod, and it became a little real in a way that, I mean, listen, this, to kind of circle back to the top of the show, to bring this full circle. I mean, did their run surprise me? Absolutely. They shocked me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not here lying, but watching it unfold was as organic and as fun to watch as anything. And I'm so excited for Heat season, guys. We're gonna be with you every step of the way from now up until training camp. We're gonna give you multiple shows a week. We're going to be going through their depth charts, right? So wings, bigs, and guards. We're going to have a guest on to kind of break down Precious's game. How does he fit into the squad with somebody who's watched a ton of film and knows him as good as anybody? We're really excited for that. And that'll be on Thursday. So remember, check in. Then maybe we'll do a stream. Maybe not. Also remember, follow us on twitch.tv/MIAHeatbeat. We're getting our emotes. I'm commissioning an artist to get some emotes, get some badges. We're going to get that set up for the season. We're really excited. Like I mentioned at the top, join our Discord server, follow our Twitter accounts, and if you're watching on YouTube, our social medias up there. So check that out. We're going to link all the stuff in the description as well. Guys, I mean, I guess this is unofficially the start of next season in a way. Like, our off season's behind us. We've had a couple of days to kind of reflect. The dust has settled. Mostly the same team, couple new faces, and I'm excited, guys. I'm excited to take this journey with you, the audience. Our eighth season of Miami Heat Beat. Really excited. I'm glad for all the growth. Now we're finally posting on YouTube. Shout out to our professional screw up, Alex Toledo, who has been yelling at me to do that forever. I finally cave in, and the YouTube audience has been great. Talking to y'all, I appreciated the view counts, and the videos have grown very, very quickly. I really appreciate that. I know that it's difficult to grow a pod on YouTube, and you guys have been absolutely outstanding. Thanks for the comments. Always comment on the videos. And if you're listening on the podcast, please give us a 5-star review. Listen, Laker fans came in and gave me a lot of bad reviews because they didn't like what I said about their team. If you read it, they're just calling me a mad Heat fan. So, if you're listening on the pod on Apple or on Spotify, please give us a 5-star review if you feel that we so indeed deserve it. And then write a little something for us. We really appreciate that. Listen, we're gonna read the funny ones on the show. Maybe we'll give T-shirts or whatever. I mean, we've done that in the past. We've given things to people. We're gonna start. We're gonna think of stuff to give to the fans who write the funniest and most clever 5-star reviews. So get that in. And then we're going to find a way to get the YouTube audience involved. So thank you guys so much. And I will see y'all on Thursday.
Peace.